Society of Delhi University welcome all the esteemed guests and audience in its fourth session of Utkarsh on the topic, the unexplored potential of human life. Advaita, the spiritual society, is an endeavor to help students transcend the difficulties and uncertainties that are almost inseparable from today's life and disseminate spiritual wisdom spanning diverse streams in an apprehensible and pragmatic way. The society envisages itself to be an inclusive and syncretic forum for healthy discussions, dialogues, reflection, and meditation. Utkarsh. Utkarsh means ascending to glory, and Advaita, through this lecture series, intend to propagate the tenets of Bharatiya Darshan and Dharma and derive the route to the path of righteousness, and thus ascend the ladder of consciousness and enlightenment. Utkarsh is an humble attempt of ours to make use of the wisdom that the eminent minds of spiritual guides like Shri and Sir keep safe and propagate it far and wide. We sincerely hope that this initiative will leave its mark and shall help you rethink your convictions and revisit your thought processes. We are glad to inform you that today we shall be joined by Shri and Sir. He is an eminent spiritual guide, social reformer, educationist, author, and speaker. He was born into a Muslim family in Kerala and then covered a long, eventful, and transformative journey from a young boy to a living yogi. In his wanderings in the Himalayas, he met many learned sages. He also lived in the Divine Society for a couple of weeks. During this interlude, he practiced yoga, attended Upanishad classes, visited nearby ashrams, and interacted with seemingly enlightened holy men in search of his own master. Finally, his search ended with his union with Guru Babaji, who took him under his spiritual tutelage and initiated him into the Nath tradition. After spending a long time in his company, Shri and Sir returned to the plains. Few years after his master passed away, he received the spiritual go-ahead to commence his mission. In 1998, he started his teachings, eventually leading to the formation of the Satsang Foundation. Under the Satsang Foundation, Shri Hem Sir has initiated projects for social development in the areas of education, health, skill development, and environment. The foundation advocates the humanity is one, transcending religious, racial, geographical, cultural, and ideological differences. To spread the message of peace and harmony, Shri and Sir led the Walk of Hope in 2015-16 from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, spanning 15 months and 7,500 kilometers, touching more than 10 million lives. He has also authored several books and texts. He was conferred with the Padma Bhushan in January 2020, one of the highest civilian awards in India, for his distinguished service of high order in spirituality. We are very blessed to have you, sir, have you with us today, sir. And therefore, I would like to request Yuvraj, the president of our society, to welcome the esteemed guest of honor.
Namaskar. We welcome everyone to this session of Utkarsh series. We welcome Shri M. Sir for joining us today for this dialogue on unexplored potential of human mind. We think that humans have indefinite potential and we tend to underestimate our abilities and our capabilities. Advaita is thankful to the principal of Hansraj College, Dr. Rama. Ma'am has been instrumental in various initiatives for the welfare of the student community and promotion of Bharatiya values. We would also like to extend our gratitude to our convener, Dr. Parul Pant Ma'am, for her constant support and backing. Advaita would like to thank everyone who has contributed to the mission that we are serving, that is, individual transformation and global harmony.
Now I request our eminent speaker, Shri M. Sir, to bestow the audience with his insightful words. Sir.
Namaskar. Thank you, Latika. Thank you, Viraj. So I'm particularly happy about the name of your society, Advaita, the spiritual society. So we'll look into that word Advaita a little later. So you started with a beautiful chant, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. But I will therefore not chant that because you already chanted it. Because I always start my talks with Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. May the whole world be happy. Now, Today, since the topic of that's been given to me, of course, and I just looked at it now, the unexplored potential of human life. Mm, right, wonderful topic, especially for young people, not only in Hansraj College and Advaita Society, but throughout the world. It's a great thing to know about the unexplored potential of the human life. We always try to limit ourselves by saying only this much is possible. So before we start, I'm going to chant something from the Upanishad, which has an infinite bearing on the subject that we are discussing today. And the chant is, you must have heard it before and probably not thought about it. The chant is, what is that? Short survey Bhavantu Sukhina is already over. So it's about completeness. This comes from the Upanishad. It's as ancient as 2000 years ago. Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. This is the chant. Now, have we thought carefully about what they're trying to convey? The Upanishad says that the beginning of all civilization, the beginning of all life, the movement of the first life on earth, this entire cosmos, everything started from what is complete, Purna. Purna can be defined as completeness, fullness, absolute, what can we say, infinite, supreme reality, Purna. So the Upanishad says Purnam Ada. That means there it is Purna. And this entire universe has come and proceeded from that Purna. Now the problem is, we say perhaps that is Purna, but I always feel Apurna, incomplete. I feel I'm small. I can't grow, that I'm complete. You see, the evolution, movement, career, everything is the attempt of the human being to attain Purnata, completeness. Why do we try to attain Purnata? Because we think we are not Purna, we are not complete. To give you a simple example, I have one car, or maybe I have a motorbike, and then I buy myself a car because I feel I'm not complete now with this motorbike. So I need to buy a car. I buy a car. For a second, I feel, now I am complete. That goes on for a few days, sometimes few months, sometimes few years. And then I look at, there's another car which I want to buy better than this. Why? Because I feel I'm still incomplete. I need to complete myself. Or I'm alone. For some time, I feel wonderful. Then I see I'm not complete. So what do? I look for a girlfriend or someone to get married to. Why? Because then I think then I will become complete. And once that happened, then what? Still I'm not complete. I'm incomplete. Why? I don't have kids. So let me have some. So the whole evolution is the Apurna, trying to become the Purna. In the material sense, also in the spiritual sense. Why do yogis meditate? Why do they study Advaita and Brahma Sutras and Upanishads and even Kriya Yoga? Why do they do that? Because they feel inadequate and they want to touch that completeness from which we have come, the source. Now the Upanishad has a beautiful message. It does not only say Purnamada, it also says Purnamidam. This is also complete, waiting to be discovered. The completeness is waiting to be discovered because we seem to think that we are incomplete. Purnamada, okay, I don't know, perhaps Purnamidam, I can find out. If I can find out this Purnata, then I will know what that Purnata, because this Purnata has come from that. Purnat Purnamaduchyate, this has come from that. Purnasya Purnamathaya, even though this has come from that, Purnameva Vashishyate, it always remains. Now, the nearest quote that I can give you on this, which is not so much spiritual, but quite material, connected to physics, is the great Albert Einstein's discovery that matter, let's say energy, can neither be created nor destroyed, and infinite. It cannot be reduced. It cannot be made smaller. We might think it is reduced, but it is not. It's still there in all its completeness. So even though this, me, you, all individuals, living beings, non-living beings, even from that Purna, and think that we are not Purna, the Upanishad said, yes, you are Purna. Purnam ada Purnam idam. Now, the moment we start looking for that Purnata, where do we look for it? The outside world, it doesn't seem to exist. Whatever we do, we still are not satisfied. We're not complete. We want to complete it. Where do we look for this Purnata? Turn inward, say the Upanishads, and look within. Here you will find the potential for expansion, the unlimited potential for reaching that which is Purna. So much so that yogis who have touched that don't need any help from anybody. They are on their own, they are full of energy, they have not dissipated. Then I'll come to that dissipation of energy in a practical manner after a while, but at the moment. Now, I must tell you that today was your program, Spiritual Society, Hans Raj College. Yes, I had to travel today. So I traveled the whole day, 6 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, I would have been sitting in Madanapalli and recording. I'm sitting in a forest in Bandipur and recording for you. Okay. So I started at 6 o'clock in the morning. I traveled the whole day, probably reached here around 4. At my age of 72, you would think that I must be very tired. How will I do the program? I'm not. How come? Tell me. Even young people feel tired. Oh, I worked the whole day, traveled. How can we postpone it? I said, no, we're not postponing it. We're doing it right now. I got someone to help me out with a laptop. And I said, let's do it. There is Wi-Fi even in the middle of the forest now. Wonder of wonders. Huh? So here we are. Now, is this an example of having at least touched a part of that Purnata within us? And if I can touch it, why can't you? That's the question, especially the young. What has happened is from birth onwards, when we started learning, we have been conditioned into believing that we cannot do certain things. We are not capable. We are weak. And the great message of the Upanishad is, Uttishta Jagrat, Prapyavaran Nibodhat. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Upanishad. Swami Vivekananda was very fond of quoting this. There is nothing impossible on this earth if one puts one mind into why. Purnam idam. Inside us is the essence of that Purnata, which is our true essence. This Atman, I like this word Advaita. Shankara said, ultimately there is only one reality. There are no two. All dissipation, all problems, all tensions happen when there are two. There's only one. And that reality happens to be you, meaning me, you, I, all of us. And if this is so, why would we waste time in worrying about things and saying, no, I can't do this? In this context, a young man asked Swami Vivekananda, an educated Babu of Bengal, like Swamiji, all this what you're teaching, this meditation and whatever, is it not some kind of hypnosis? And she said, my dear friend, I need to correct you. This is dehypnosis. He said, you have been hypnotized this entire life into believing that you are a limited human being who is born and is going to die. Yes, physical body dies, of course, but there's an eternal element in us which doesn't. Ask me. Now, Swamiji said, the whole process of Vedanta is dehypnotizing oneself from this weakness, to stand up and walk on your own feet, to get out of this understanding that I cannot do it, that I am a limited being who's born and therefore is going to die. He said, understand that you are a spark of the unlimited supreme reality, which is Purna. Once you dehypnotize yourself from this limitedness, your potentials and possibilities are limitless. Now, it's easy to say this, but is it possible to do it? Look at the example of all the people who have done what looks impossible. It's Swami Vivekananda. He wandered the length and breadth of India. At one time, nobody knew who he was. He suffered. He couldn't get food sometimes. And then he went to Chicago Parliament of Religions, of course, and became famous. The same people who neglected him welcomed him back. He achieved in his short life of 43 years what 100 people cannot achieve or bring about in 100 years. How did he do that? Where is the essence? Where is this energy coming from? He was not a billionaire who got endless connection to get funds. How did he do it? Because he discovered, by the grace of his great guru, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, that the spark of the infinite supreme reality is in his heart. Now, it can't be only in one heart. It has to be in all hearts. Some people discover it and tap that source. Some don't. You know why we don't? Because from childhood we have been hypnotized into saying that our potential is limited. We cannot expand all that we can do. This is the problem. So now what do we do? Start saying, I am a spark of the infinite supreme reality. The Purna is my essence. And therefore, I will not stop. I will move until I reach my goal. Prapyavaranya bodhat. Until I reach my goal, I shall not walk back. Believe me, it works. This is the teaching Krishna gave to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He said, you're giving me many excuses. Actually, you're afraid of failure. That's what you're afraid of. Take your bow, move forward. The supreme reality being me, Krishna there talks about the supremeness himself, is in your heart all the time. All the energy that you need comes to you. But what stops it from coming? This negative thinking, that I cannot do it. I don't have the potential to do it. We have infinite potential. I'll give you a simple example. You see a man on the street, an old man, sick man, walking with a bundle on his shoulders, not able to move. You think that in 2 minutes, this guy is going to probably fall down and die. Now imagine a scene where a car suddenly comes into the street and comes to a screeching halt near this guy. What is the general reaction? What would you expect? Either he would die because the car would hit him, or which is generally the case. He clears all long jump records, this guy, who you thought or we thought couldn't walk another few steps. He has cleared all long jump records and landed on the other side of the street, and he doesn't know how he did it. He's done it because for a split second, his thought process, which conditioned him, saying, I'm sick, I can't move, had stopped working. Why did it stop working? Because for survival, his limbic system, which is in the backside of the midbrain, took over to save him. He didn't have the time to think. So thought can be constructive, but thought can also be negative. And for a second, when thoughts have subsided, infinite energy flows into you. And the yogi or the Vedantin is one who deliberately works out techniques to tap this energy within. Now, once you tap this energy, not only can you move spiritually, you can also do many things in this world, provided they do not cause harm or injury to others. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't believe in this yogic energies, and I don't think I need to. I'm very happy that they don't, because this person who was talking to me at that moment is such a terrible man that if he really believed this energy exists, and if he tapped that energy, he would cause infinite harm to this world. So it's good that he doesn't believe it. So there is a safety valve there, which keeps many people from believing in this, because they could cause harm. We are dealing with an energy which is bigger than the hydrogen bomb that exploded in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Imagine it falling into the wrong hands. So I'm glad people don't believe it. Because before believing it and coming to the source, one should purify oneself and feel that the energy will be used and never for destructive purposes. Now, is there a possibility, practical possibility of tapping this? Oh, this is theory. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, in the last part of every chapter, there is one sentence which is very interesting. And that is, it is repeated. First it says, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So don't tell me I don't know Sanskrit, because any Indian who knows any local language will understand Sanskrit. It's so simple. I'm not talking about Sanskrit grammar. Let's leave that alone. I'm talking about Lagu Bhasha. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You understood, right? This is the Bhagavad Gita. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So what does it teach? Upanishad. It is an Upanishad. And what is an Upanishad? Brahma Vidyayam. Upanishad is that which teaches us Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the supreme reality. Now this doesn't stop there. The next sentence is important for us. It says, Yoga Shastre. This is also a text on the technique by which Yoga with Brahma Vidya can be tapped. Without that, you can theoretically talk about, I can say Aham Brahmasmi, but I might run away if I see somebody coming with a stick at me. Then where is the Brahman out there? Through yoga, you tap this, you make your mind open and unconditioned to understand this limitless energy and strength which is within you. So Yoga Shastra is important. Now, just before I told you a simple story about the old man who could jump because he wasn't thinking. His conditioned mind was not working. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is the textbook, standard textbook on yoga, Patanjali defines yoga as yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the elimination of all distractions from the mind. Plus or minus, all distractions. Good or bad, when the mind is free of all distractions, then when the mind is free of all distractions, when it is absolutely quiet, then the mind is no longer an ordinary mind. It is a mind which reflects the supreme consciousness, which in yogic language is called Purusha. Now, when I say Purusha, don't mistake it for male-female business. No, Purusha means consciousness. So when the mind is free of all distractions, when it is quiet, when there is no tension, no conflicting thoughts, then the mind being quiet does not dissipate any energy, and therefore the source of all energy flows through that mind, to that quiet mind. Now this can be used for good purposes in this world as well as to move forward in the spiritual world. I think people who are still studying, who are in college, if you have these energies, this not energies, is only one actually, then you might be able to do things which you normally thought you could not do. Now, but the first condition is that you believe in it. You can do it. That there is an infinite energy. You can't work without an hypothesis. You work and then you prove your hypothesis. This is the teaching that has come down to us. It is through this understanding that the great rishis not only advanced in the spiritual field, but wrote wonderful things like mathematics, science. You think that the Pushpa Vimanas that are described in ancient time, do you really think that it's a fiction or somebody's imagination? I think probably they had something. How did they get there? Because their mind had no limits to expansion. The great person who is the inventor of the atom bomb and the hydrogen bomb, what's his name? Anybody knows? Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, after the Hiroshima Nagasaki explosion, read the Gita. And he figured out, he suddenly was astonished that the descriptions given of the weapons used was just like an atom bomb or a hydrogen bomb that was thrown into poor Japanese. Anyway, so where did this knowledge come from? If you go into the Ayurvedic text, Sushruta Samhita, Charaka Samhita, Sushruta is supposed to have done surgeries. Now nobody does surgery in Ayurveda. It's gone. Okay? The great yogis, the great scientists, even the great diplomats and strategists like Chanakya, all of them had tapped some part of that unexplored potential energy of human life. And the human being is in the best position to tap it. It started with a little amoeba, and now we are so evolved and developed. But we are still stuck with this three-dimensional thought. If we can even imagine in our minds, if we don't know, that there could be other dimensions, there could be energies available to us which are in true essence from our own heart, from our inner source, from our inner consciousness, then life would be quite different. Such people, such great yogis, even when the body is passing away, go with a smile because they know life this is not the end, it's continuing. I will say, I will stop now this talk for you. It's almost 45 minutes, I think. Yes. It's a little one beautiful story. When Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the guru of Swami Vivekananda, if you don't know, passed away, his wife, Sharada Devi, his consort. In Bengal, it is very common that the third day of husband's death, you should remove the mark, the sindoor from your forehead and break your bangles, take off your nose. She was getting ready to do that. She fell asleep. Ramakrishna came in a dream and he said, silly, are you mad? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? You think your husband is dead? I've just walked from this room to the next. Don't do any such thing. So if you see her pictures till the end, you see her wearing a sindoor, wearing bangles, wearing the nosegay perfectly like anybody else. So even that death is just a movement from one place to another. We never die. Why? Because we are never born. In essence, if this is understood, what unexplored energies are there which you can touch? So therefore, I think all you young people should not give up, should not think this is all that we can do. Expand your potential. If you are mathematicians, become greater than Aryabhatta. Why stop there? If you are yogis, become better than us who are already there. I think the next, the future generation is a gifted generation. Some people, oh, young people are now wasting. Say, just a minute, wait. Have you told them what to do? Have you discussed with them? No. Then, in fact, this generation is going to change the world. I think you can do it. Don't never say no. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaskar. Now
Thank
we
you
have.
so much. So yes. So thank you so much for an enlightening talk. So can we take some questions?
Of course.
Okay. The chat box is open for the audience. You can drop your questions in the chat box. We'll take them one by one.
When I say that the questions for today are enough, then you should be able to stop it. And then you can email me the rest. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm not tired, but still for my age, you should give me a little bit of leeway. Okay, thank you. Questions, please.
Okay. So we have questions. I'll ask after this.
Great.
Okay. So the first question is there life after death?
Now, should we deal with life now and think about life after death later? Or should we think about it now? Shouldn't we deal with life as it is right now? Because only if you deal with life as it is now, will you be able to deal with life if it exists after death. Since you asked me the question, I am totally convinced that there is life after death. Why? Because it is my personal experience. I cannot put it into a test tube and give it to you. There are certain, you can't, can you see the wind? You can only feel it. There are certain things which can be put on the table, labeled and given to you, but according to me, it's so funny to say that life is just this little thing from birth to death. Just think about it. Okay, when you die, what happens to this thinking, moving individual consciousness which was with this body? What happens? Does it also finish? Yeah, some people say, yes, it finishes off. I don't believe this because for me, it's a personal experience that there are many lives. So, to the question, if you want a concise answer, yes, life does exist after death. Death is a transformation, actually, from one stage to another.
So the next question is, would you please talk a little bit about your encounter with Shirdi Sai Baba? Anything you feel like sharing would mean a lot.
Well, I already have shared it in my autobiography in all detail, and I don't think it needs to be repeated again. If you go into my autobiography and read it, you'll find that I have no more extra details on that. That's all I have. So if you read it, you get to know about it. But that I was more astonished that anybody would have been when this happened to me. I thought I was going to die. I was shocked. I was frightened, actually.
So the next question is, it is important to have a guru in physical form in one's life?
No, this is a very serious and important question. I think so. You look, anything that you do, you need someone to instruct you. Even ordinary subjects. Do you think you can learn quantum physics without a professor teaching you what it is all about? You can learn a little bit from the internet, but you really need someone to teach you. So to this question, I would say, especially to walk on such uncharted territory as the spiritual field, you certainly would need a teacher. My problem is, when the teacher teaches, give more importance to the teaching than to the teacher. I'll give you an example. Suppose I'm standing here outside Hansraj College gate, and somebody comes to me and says, "Sir, I want to go to India Gate. How do I go there?" Student, guru, standing there. Now I would tell him that this is the way to go. Depending on the distance, take an auto or a bus or car or whatever, but you need to go this direction. I don't have to tell him now because there is Google, of course. The big G. New God is Google, of course, because all information is there, omniscient. Anyway, suppose he doesn't know, and I say, go this way, this is what you have to do. Now to reach India Gate, this guy has to go, right? Yes or no? He has to follow my instructions and go. Instead of that, if he stays there and he garlands me and he does arati to me and says, "Oh, the greatest guru, you taught me how to go to India Gate," he will not reach India Gate. He needs to take the steps. When you are hungry, the teacher can tell you how to eat the food. He can even provide the food, but to appease your hunger, you have to eat the food. So while I say that guru is necessary, don't go into this thing about the guru becoming more important than what is being taught. In fact, when this happens, generally, it's an excuse of a lazy mind which doesn't want to do any effort. He says everything the guru will take care of. I have nothing to do. I was not like that, so I don't advise people to do that. Yeah.
So the next question is, can bhakti help you reach in the spiritual journey?
Of course. It's been time tested for so many years, thousands of years. Now, when you say bhakti, please understand that bhakti doesn't mean getting into hysterical singing and jumping and saying, "Oh, bhakti." If you read the Narada Bhakti Sutra, you will get the essence of bhakti. Bhakti is when a person feels that the only thing he wants or she wants is a darshan of the Lord. That's all. A bhakta doesn't ask anything else from the Lord. And in fact, a bhakta is such that he doesn't mind if he's in misery, but he wants to find the truth. That is bhakti. What is our bhakti? I am very fond of you, Lord, but if I don't get a promotion, then I'll turn to some other God. This is my bhakti, not mine. So this is not bhakti. Bhakti, at some point in people, some maybe whoever has spoiled this whole idea of bhakti. They go to people and only ask for things. They don't want to evolve or go to or have darshan of the deity. They want something else. And there may be some people who provide that, but there's no use. That is not bhakti. Bhakti, I will give you an example. Very few people can be real bhaktas. Otherwise, it's better to do yoga, Vedanta, and so on, not bhakti. It's not just joke. I mean, it's fair. One is the great matriarch of the Pandava family, Kunti. Example, Krishna, after the Kurukshetra war, is leaving for Dwarka. So he goes to say goodbye to everybody. To those who are his age, same age, he goes and hugs them. Those who are elder than him, he takes the dust of their feet. Krishna. Now, how is Krishna depicted in the Puranas, the Mahabharata? How? Purnavatara. Here, when I am promoted and I become a professor, I refuse to touch the feet of my student. Will I do that? No. Purnavatara is touching the feet of his elders. This is what defines a Purnavatara. Anyway, so, and then he goes to the great Kunti, who is the matriarch of the family. He touches her feet and says, Kunti, I am going to Dwarka. If you have any boons to ask of me, please ask me. Now is the right time. There's a beautiful lecture by Kunti. It's called Kunti's Bhakti. Kunti says, you don't try this drama with me. I know who you are. Okay? So don't say I'm going to Dwarka. You don't go anywhere. You're eternal. You're everywhere. With me, you don't try this drama. However, since you asked me for a boon, I'm going to ask for a boon. But you have to give it to me. What's that? Bring all the misfortunes of the world on my head. Even Krishna is taken aback. What kind of a boon is this? Bring all misfortunes of the world on my head. Krishna says, why? He knows, but he asks why. So then she says, because when misfortune strikes, I will call you for help. And if misfortunes keep coming, I will be calling you all the time. And I am sure that if I call, you will show your blessed face. That I have no doubt. So constantly when troubles come, I will be seeing your face all the time. What more do I want? You may think you're going to Dwarka, but that's all I want. Krishna, not knowing what to do, puts his hand on her head and says, Tathastu, so be it. That is bhakti. Only simply we say bhakti. I sing a little bit. When I sing, there are tears in my eyes. It could be because of devotion, or it could be because my husband had a fight with me 3 days before. It could be anything. It may be just a catharsis of a terrible time I had. It may not be from genuine devotion. So, genuine devotion does not ask for anything except for the darshan of the Lord. If that is there, it is the best path. There is no other path required. In fact, my parampara is Kriya Yoga. But Maheshwarnath Babaji, my guru, used to tell me, Kriya Yoga is not a magic affair. And it's not necessary that everybody practices Kriya to attain moksha or have darshan of the Lord. And the example he gave was, he used to ask me, what Kriya did Mirabai practice? Tell me. Nothing. And on the other hand, wisdom, Jnana Marga. What Kriya did Ramana Maharshi practice? Nothing. So it's not that. Even if you practice Kriya, if the intention of finding the truth is not for the foremost thing in your mind, even Kriya is not going to work. Do you think the Supreme Being is so foolish that if I sit down and breathe up and down 10 times a day, he will show himself? No. So, since the question is asked, I would say a judicious combination of bhakti, yoga, meditation, karma yoga. Put all this together in a judicious manner, because each person has a different mentality, different background, even different genes. So there a teacher may be important to sort out what is good for one. Yeah.
So the next question is, when does seeking ends? When we get the glimpse of the self, or when we are enlightened?
Say that again.
When does seeking ends? Question mark.
When
we seeking.
Seeking, okay.
Okay, seeking ends.
When does seeking end?
When we get glimpse of self or when we are enlightened.
When you have the glimpse of the self, you're enlightened. If it's not a glimpse of the self, when you are aware of the self alone as a pure entity, then you're already enlightened. There's nothing in no other step happening. Up to that is the whole problem. When you're understood that yourself, your inner self, is not different from the supreme reality. And at least that it is a spark of the, let's put it that way, be more humble, that it's a spark of the supreme. Then you're already enlightened. There is nothing more to do.
So the next question is, we often decide our areas of work based on our skills. Normally, our entire outlook is engaged in our profession for earning day-to-day livings. And much of our time is spent in the rat race. How do we shift our perspective and choice of activities to get access to this unexplored potential within ourselves?
Right. So while you are going about doing your activities, as they call a rat race, I think it's not only a rat race, a cat race also. Anyway, so as you enter into this, set apart some time to think that inside you there is infinite potential. This is called meditation. Sit for some time every day, keep apart at least 10 to 15 minutes where you sit down and say, I'm not thinking about my career right now. I want to see, I want to touch or feel the essence of being, which is myself, in my inner self. If you practice it daily, while you enter into what you call the rat race, I don't call it the rat race, it's not a good word to use, a race, let's say, the race for success. As I enter into it, if I keep this understanding in my mind deep down, then I will be able to find my true way and my true approach and what to do. Everything will become clear to us. But we should set apart that time and do nothing but meditate. If you do nothing, if you don't believe in meditation systems, at least sit down in an open space, look at the sky, or there's a full moon, just be absorbed. For that time being, forget about the race. Then get back to the race. When you get back to the race, then you're well armed. You'll be able to handle it better.
So the next question is, how to convince this mind about the divine or the higher energy so that it is more motivated? Mind's tenacity to hold on to this world is very strong. So how to get over it?
You can get over it only gradually. It can't be done in a day or two. Let's get that straight. It takes time. Why? Because the mind has continuously been accustomed to think that the world is most important. And there's nothing beyond that, right? So it will also take as much time to make the mind understand that beyond this, there is something else. Now, how do we do that? Only by reading and listening to people who have touched it. It will take some time. Depending on your character, you might outright reject sometimes. But then you need to again read and say, wait, let me not reject. You don't have to lap it up, but at least suspend your judgment and say, there might be some truth in this. For thousands of years, people were saying this, so it can't be just everybody repeating the same lie. So let me get in. So it will take some time. The first intention is to say, setting apart my disbelief, let me figure out if there is something. This is how all scientific experiments are also done. So I think it will take time. It's not, I can't give any instant. Look, I also don't sell any instant techniques. And there are no shortcuts to this, like anything else. Yeah, there is one shortcut, which is very difficult, but most don't attempt that. It's to cut the ego into two. But It's difficult to do that. So let's leave it for the time being. But that is the shortest cut. But otherwise, suspend your judgment and say, okay, let me explore and find out. I will not outright reject this. And then perhaps after some time, like any other thing, where you need to constantly work to understand, you will also understand this.
What's your take on how to forget someone when you know they did something wrong with you?
You know what? If you think someone did wrong to you, the best way to get out of this situation is not to keep thinking about how to get out of this. Because the moment you think about how to be free of this, that image will start coming again and again. So instead of trying to get out of it, you'll get obsessed with that image. So you say, okay, whatever has happened or whatever somebody has been done in the past, right? Not now. Okay? And this life is not the past. This is the present. Even though what was done in the past has a certain effect in the present, what was done is already disappeared. There is nothing left, except in my mind like a tape. Can I get rid of that tape? Then I'm done. We waste a lot of time regretting and being sad and complaining about what people have done to us. Can we for a moment throw that out of the window and say, okay, that's finished. Can we move forward? Today is a new day. The moment we start thinking about this, gradually that thought will let go of you. On the other hand, if you think, oh, this happened, I must push it off, it will keep coming back, recoil with more force. Okay, there's one more technique, not easy to practice. Send good thoughts to people who've done bad to you. Not easy. Suppose somebody has done a terrible thing to you. You sit down every day and say, may he become better. I'm sending good thoughts. I don't care what he did to me. Very soon you'll forget about it. Because you don't want to send good thoughts. Partly.
So the next question is, do you believe in the law of attraction?
Law of attraction?
Yes, sir.
I need a definition for this law of attraction. Because it's a very wide subject and many people use it. They think I'm attracted to somebody, so this is the law of attraction working. I believe that there is something that attracts human beings, yes. I also believe that if human being has spiritual energies, people get attracted to them. That's also true. This is because it's like a magnet. Any iron filing that goes near a magnet becomes a magnet, at least temporarily, and goes and sticks to it. This is the law of attraction. So, if I am an iron filing and I go before a great spiritual person, I feel that flowing into me in some way, and I also become a magnet temporarily. Then I move out and I'm again back to the same person until I have a pure iron piece which is wound with copper wire, fixed to an electric circuit and made into a permanent magnet. Till then, I am magnetic only as long as I am near the magnet. After that, I am not. If I become a permanent magnet, I am become a magnet even if I am away. Now that copper coil is somewhere in the Shushumna Nadi, according to us yogis. It's coiled. It's in the Muladhara. When that charge comes, then you are a permanent magnet. You don't have to worry about the other magnet. It's a yogic technique.
So, okay.
How much?
So, am I audible? Okay. So, the best advice you can give to a person in his 20s?
20s?
Yes.
Oh, now this is a tough question. I was in my 20s many years ago. So I can't. Okay, I can say this. As I see it now, if you're in your 20s, don't conclude anything in your mind. Always say, perhaps it is this, but as I go into life and learn more things, my opinion can change. So keep your mind fresh so that the learning process can become constant. Don't conclude at 20, I know everything. I think this is a good advice. And wish good to all human beings. How did you start? Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Worth repeating. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. May I see you all that is auspicious and good. Have a bright outlook on life. Don't allow anybody to make you depressed. Move forward. Okay. I think that we should wind up now. Any more questions you have, please find my email. Yuvraj, I'm telling you, please also to Latika. If you have any other questions, please send me by mail. I think I have given you some good points, food for thought. Think about it. All of you have bright faces, and I wish and pray that you move forward, expand your potential, and become geniuses in whatever field you get into. And for all others who have attended this, my thanks and namaskar and blessings to all. Please do send your questions by mail. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so much for such an enlightening talk, sir. Thank you so much. So, like, before winding up, I would like to invite Mansi ji for the Shanti mantra.
Om Dhya Shantirantariksam Shantihi Prithvi Shantirapah Shantiroshadayah Shantihi Vanaspatayah Shantirvishve Devah Shantihi Brahma Shantihi Sarvaham Shantihi Shantireva Shantihi Sama Shantiredhi Om Shantihi 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 Om